There you
Okay,
go.
okay. So
Oops.
so this is class of four, and this will be the last class in this sequence. And I like the fact that this wasn't rushed. I think that I like the slowness of this, and that you really had a chance to look at this artist's work, and I find that very appealing. Um, so, it, and also it's obvious, but I'll just say that it, the artist is very personally meaningful to me on many levels, and I think that that's great. So um, basically, you're just going to read, and I'm going to put on the screen, hopefully, your two images. So we're going to start. Okay, we're going to start with this. Um, this. Okay. So now the first one is Anna's. If you could read and we can view, that would be great.
Okay, let me just find my essay. I didn't expect to go first. Here we go. Okay. Um, this is Calle de Santa Rita Tomelloso. It was made in 1961. That's the one, I believe it's the one on the left, yes.
Yes.
And then on the right, we have Terrasso de Lucio, which was started in 1961 and finished in 1992. So let me read what I wrote.
But
Two,
wait a minute. 1962 to 19,
1961 to 1992.
yeah,
Wow.
a short one.
Okay. Two streetscape paintings, both oil on panel, but one being more than twice the size of the other. That painting taking 30 years longer to complete than the small one. Both paintings are started in 1961, one finished in that year, the other in 1992. The smaller painting, Calle de Santa Rita in Tomelloso, perhaps is more traditional in its composition. You look down a long street with the conversing figures becoming smaller and smaller as your eye seeks out the horizon line at the end. The sky predominates with two telephone poles dividing the image while a lamppost stands in between. Telephone wires also divide the painting horizontally. They are located just below the buildings. Notice too how the wires line up perfectly with the clouds in the background. Lines seem significant, horizontal, vertical, and moving along the buildings as a way of defining the space.
Terrific, terrific.
How different from the 31 years to complete Terraza de Lucio, a painting which zeroes in on two walls and then distracts you with the pink of the buildings in the background, not to mention the green and gray window shades. Once again, lines guide your eye from the foreground to the distant edifice, while the vines and flowers seduce you with their beauty. To quote the artist, I don't really know when I finish a painting. Until about 1960, I had total control over the painting. I did with it what I wanted based on ideas I wanted to express. I knew when it was finished. But since 1960, I have been painting directly from nature, and I have a lot of difficulty knowing. It is very difficult. I have the feeling that I never finish it. I work from the subject, adding things, trying to go deeper into it, but the subject I work on is so great, so broad and changing that I never have the feeling that I have reached the end. The light affects the color of the buildings, and thus both pieces shimmer in the glow of pink, gray, adobe, and blue. Whether completed in 1961 or 1992, both the images are luminous. Based on what we have learned about Antonio Lopez's process, we wonder as to the number of years he actually worked on Terrasso de Lucio. Given the 31 years to completion, we wonder how many days and years were spent observing the same light and space. Meanwhile, Calle de Santa Rita in Tomelloso easily reveals the feeling of the afternoon sun, which is so visible. According to the internet, this painting was completed while Lopez was living in Madrid, leading us to ask whether he used photographs or memory to create the sensory experience, or whether he returned to Tomoloso to get the light, space, and color just right. Note too the mud and puddles, letting us know of some recent rain. In fact, Lopez didn't really spend 30 plus years on Terraza de los Lucio. He worked on it back in 1961 when his friends lived there. He explained, I began painting the walls, the floor, the flower boxes full of flowers. I worked in that setting for a couple of springs, and then for some reason I abandoned the project. Many years later, I had the opportunity to return to that attic. Lucio and Amalia no longer lived there. It had changed a lot, not the elements, which remained the same, but their appearance, and perhaps also my gaze. This change impressed me so much that I asked permission from the new owner and resumed work from that new impression. I have had to reform almost the entire painting, adding above, below, to the left to focus the confluence of the vanishing lines of the scene. The protagonist is now the bite of time on the walls, the crack in the dark street, the wall of the granulated cement terrace that comes down to us on the left until we can touch it. Lopez is now inspired by both the present and the past, by his friends who used to live there, by the change that is a constant, by the light that reigns supreme, by the flowers that are still nurtured, and by the reality that the beauty and humanity remains whether the space is inhabited by his friends or by others.
Oh, gee, that is so good.
Mhm.
Very observed. Really, Anna, really observed. That's terrific. Uh, just maybe this everyone wasn't aware that this is the one on the right is the terrace of a friend of his, a fellow artist named Lucio Munoz. Munoz, M-U-N, little tilde on the top of the N, O-Z. And the interesting thing here is Lucio Munoz is a totally non-objective artist, um, completely. And yeah, and the one on the right, I'm not sure if you realized it, but is a truncated version of the painting. In other words, maybe this was a photograph of the original painting, but it changed. It went lower, higher, and left and right. So if we come to that later, you'll see it opens up a bit. Um, the your observational part is just really strong, really terrific. Um, okay, so this one is Kathy.
Mhm. And I have to say, I forgot to get the titles or the dates. I just was, you
No,
know,
don't worry about it.
okay. So, all right. In both of Antonio Lopez's paintings, one is drawn into the painting by the light in the background of each. Lopez also makes use of one-point perspective to pull the viewer into the picture. In the painting on the left, the palette is one of low chroma and high key. White dominates, yet there are areas of warm white and cool white to create a temperature vibration. And though the primary color is white, he lowers the key in order to make the light coming from the window the lightest value and therefore the focal point in the picture.
Terrific. Really, wait a minute. That's terrific.
Oh, thank you.
So
Yeah, that,
really, I just want to say something. Are you going to say something about that?
oh, just that light is what drew me to this piece.
Okay, so for the rest of you, this thing that Kathy is bringing up is very interesting, very important. So what he does is he he is uh, making the rest of the painting a little grayer than it actually is, and that doing that and keeping the light on that window very high pulls you all the way back. So it's fabulous. It's really fabulous. This painting on the left is 8 feet high.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. That is a very important thing to understand and mention the size. This is not a small painting. You could
Mhm.
actually walk into that bathroom.
True.
Keep going.
Um, in the painting on the right, we see a low-key, fairly low chroma painting with the focal point in the middle distance, lit with a warm light and contrasted strongly against the evening sky and dark foreground. The diagonal lines of the buildings all point to the lit area in the middle ground, which is undefined yet draws us in. The horizontal and diagonal lines dominate in this composition, but are balanced by the dark silhouettes of the three trees which frame the strong area of light. Both paintings, though devoid of the human figure, have a spiritual quality to them. The viewer is drawn into the paintings towards the light.
Um, this is very, very, very good.
Thank you.
Just one little comment about uh, can you read that last sentence again?
Yes, both paintings, though devoid of the human figure, have a spiritual quality to them. The viewer is drawn into the paintings towards the light.
Well, this, your last sentence, which deals with devoid of the human figure, is fascinating because Lopez is a figurative artist, but the figure appears uh, very um, i- infrequently in his work, but yet you feel clearly that this is figurative. And it's almost like the absence of the figure is a presence. Um,
Yeah, because though the figure isn't portrayed here, you feel there's life here. There's life.
yeah, yeah. So the next one that I have is Kristen, and that's this one.
Thank you. And I apologize to everyone who is yet to present that I have to leave after I do this, but I'm going to watch because I always learn so much from everyone's um, presentations, and it makes me look better. Um, these two paintings by Antonio Lopez are both capture everyday objects in incredible detail. The first, Greek Head and Blue Dress, painted in 1958, when Lopez was only 22 years old, looks as if it was set up as a study of objects, and is especially focused on light and color. It almost appears as if Lopez was working hard to make discoveries as he painted about how light coming through a window from the outside and how the light shone on and through objects. Lopez has painted the light coming through the window as it casts shadows both in front of and behind the bust, as well as several other objects on the table. A colorful reflection of the glass jar on the table emanates outward to the front of the painting as the light shines through it. The detail in the the detail in the light shining through each of the designs and folds of the beautiful blue dress in front of the wall and the window indicate an attempt at trying to really explore how light works. Some objects are painted with detailed precision, while others are difficult to even discern what they are and almost seem to be segmented into the table. The second painting of unknown title and year, I was unable to find that, is a darker interior scene with an unknown source of light that also seems to have Lopez exploring techniques of light and shadow. This shelf looks as if it may have already been filled rather than set up as a still life to paint, perhaps with a few choice objects added, like some beloved quince. But the painting seems no less a study in the details of shadow and light. The shadows cast by the lace, the light coming from another source and leaving shadows from the shelves on the wall and within the shelves themselves. The lace and other objects are painted with beautiful precision. The colorful and textured floor and walls are more coarse and unrefined, but are also both shaded and illuminated by sources of light. There is mystery in this painting as well. What is the ghost-like white paint in the lower right and the splotch of pink paint emanating to the left of the candle? Simply texture or something other? Speaking of the candle, is the floating candlestick with a flame next to an unlit light bulb a nod to remind us that we should be on the lookout for the light in this painting? Clearly, there is an additional source of light here, one that the viewer cannot see. And did Lopez include a beautifully rendered floating head of his wife, bright and atop everything, just for kicks? Was he thinking about how she may have been the one who carefully arranged these objects? Or did he just need something to draw attention to the incredibly lifelike representation of the glass bowl on the top shelf and its shadow? What does an artist's study look like? Often, artists' studies seem to be in preparation for executing a larger and more detailed piece. However, these two paintings could very well be considered artists' studies, but of a very different and altogether thorough type.
Terrific, terrific, excellent. The painting on the right, if I remember right, is 8 feet high. So that would be funny for an 8 feet high painting to be a study.
Maybe, right? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But there was something about watching him also in the film and the interviews that made me think, well, maybe that's all it was. Because it's odd in a with some odd things in it, and I don't know if he was trying to say something or if he was just working things out. And the process, it seems to be what was speaking to me about the process of trying to get at
Yeah, yeah.
an image.
It's a really striking painting. I've seen this
Mhm.
a few times. Um, it the I asked you to send me the images by Monday because we have to figure out how to set this up. So at the very last minute, I got uh, 2 images from Kim. Are you here, Kim, now? Hello, Kim? No. Well, in any case,
Yes, I'm here. I was muted,
oh,
sorry.
okay, okay. So I got 2 images from Kim, which I couldn't put on because we already did that. So hopefully we'll have the time to hear him reading, but the image that you see on the right, if you can remember that, if you can remember that, that's Kim's image on the right. Okay, so that'll be later. Keep that in your head, that image, the china closet and the commode and the image of the woman hovering over it. So the next one I have is lens, which is this. Len?
On the left, we have Homage to Marilyn Monroe, 1964 oil on board, 32 by 41 inches. On the right, we have The Telephone, 1963, dimensions and surface unknown. In the book Antonio Lopez, Master of Spanish Realism, Lopez states as follows: I have had 2 great loves that taught me a lot and influenced me a great deal. One was ancient art, the other modern art. When I first encountered modern art as a student, it was mainly the work of surrealists like Salvador Dali and De Chirico. Surrealism, he says, taught me to look at the world differently. One might imagine Lopez emulating Dali, the most renowned surrealist in the world, 32 years his senior, and a fellow Spaniard. These paintings, however, are not defined by phantasmagoric images like the melting timepieces of Dali's Persistence of Memory, nor visual enigmas like the sleigh bells and human torsos of Magritte's 6 Elements. Lopez's surrealist meditations are quiet juxtapositions grounded in the familiar. Rather than seeking to bewilder, they beckon us to thoughtful contemplation. Consider Homage to Marilyn Monroe. In the background, a dappled street trails off to the horizon. Dabs of paint create a dreamlike suggestion of place. In the foreground, Marilyn, in a somber black dress, cradles head in gloved hand, simultaneously elegant and funereal. The mood is quiet, contemplative, a tribute akin to Elton John and Bernie Taupin's Candle in the Wind. The iconic Marilyn, who died 2 years earlier, is forlorn, yet vulnerable and accessible. She stands in contrast to the dreamy street, yet is seamlessly part of it. The telephone, similarly, does not beguile us with fantastical objects. The patchy telephone, corridor, and newspaper are familiar, but an inchoate specter peers mysteriously from behind the paper. A ghostly visitor, a poltergeist, an angel. As with Homage to Marilyn, a story unfurls, but we are left to our own devices to write it.
Really super, just super, and really, really wonderful. These 2 images were not included in my presentation, so you had to really research this to pull these out. I don't know if you received my email about the next one. I thought I sent it to you, but the next one I sent to Len, which is this one, and this was a fairly large thing that Lopez did for Marilyn's hands. This one here, it's a little too small in reproduction, but it was quite a nice sized piece, and you can almost feel her hands inside those gloves. So
beautiful.
Did you get this, Len?
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't. Oh, sorry. I was wondering why you didn't respond.
But I haven't checked my email in a couple hours. So if you sent it recently.
Oh no, I sent it when you sent this to me.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I'll have to go back and look. It's lovely.
Yeah. So this is the painting. It's a little murky down in the bottom, but this is definitely a study. I liked the whole thing about the surrealism of the everyday. I thought that was very well done. So number 6 is Run, which is this one. Ron, are you here?
I am unmuting myself.
Do I have this right?
The sides are reversed, but it's not important.
Okay. Sorry.
Just a side comment that I'm really sticking to the script here. Objective art requires objective writing. Lopez Garcia, Intersections. I've chosen to focus on 2 similar but contrasting paintings of the same street intersection by Antonio Lopez Garcia. I do not have the source material to provide the titles, dates, or sizes of the 2 works. I'm assuming both are oil paintings. Both paintings are square and appear to be composed around vertical and horizontal axes which divide the frame into 4 quadrants. In both paintings, the vertical axis passes through a region of the paintings which depict a triangular area in which lines painted on the pavement direct traffic around a triangular traffic island. The streets are lined with ornate Parisian-style buildings, which Lopez renders in great detail. The point of view in the painting on the right is from street level, as would be seen by a standing observer. The horizontal axis leaves all but the very pediments of the buildings above the axis, permitting the street details below to dissolve into chalky blackboard-like passages. The buildings are rendered in flat tones of a gray, similar to the tonality of the pavement, but relieved with areas of greenish yellow-gray, suggestive of a smoky early morning light before the onset of human activity. In the painting on the left, the same scene, infused with color, is observed from a 4th floor balcony. The horizontal axis runs through the white course of stone, defining the base of the 5th floor of the red painted building across the intersection. From this point of view, the buildings are minimized and the observer is treated to an expanse of sky with rising morning light. As in the right side painting, this light illuminates the distant higher buildings at the head of the avenue. In this left side painting, although the streets are similarly deserted, Lopez provides dynamism in the movement of the late summer foliage on the trees in the foreground. In both works, I sense Lopez has attempted to capture the transient moment of a city arising from its slumber, the intersection of night and morning at the street intersection below his dwelling. The buildings will soon come alive with activity, and the abstract markings on the street will again fulfill their task of gently guiding sleepy commuters to their work.
Terrific, terrific. Um, so, two thoughts that I had on your presentation. The first is my own shortcoming. I never realized that these two were the same street until you wrote this. And I actually, since you sent it to me, I read this, that they were the two of the same street. The second thought is that you could see how much warmer the more recent painting is to the one on the right. And I thought of a third part. I think the third part skipped out of my head, but let me just think about this for a second. So sorry. So sorry. Let me see. It'll come back maybe in a few minutes, but I now I remembered. The type of writing that Ron is doing is interesting to point out, which is in his very intense description of what he's seeing is his point of view. He's describing this. And when you read it, you're reading this. And surprise, surprise, you have a sense of who the author is and their point of view. I think that's a very interesting way of approaching this. And there are certain writers that write like that. Am I correct in my supposition here? Rita, would you tell me?
Yes, I think that's how we all approach all paintings. It's only from our own point of view.
Yeah, yes, but this is even more from your, it's a very specific own point of view, which is the triangles, the shapes, the color going back, um, the arrows, the cross section, the cross lines. It's all things, uh, um, nouns and adjectives, and the totality of it ends up to be Ron. Uh, all right, so let's go on to Jackie, which is this one.
Um,
You see on in this one is the same painting that we saw before. This is Lucio Munoz's terrace, and you could see how it's opened up, lower, higher, and out, left and right.
Okay, I couldn't write that much in 4 minutes, so this is going to be very short.
That's fine. Whatever you wrote, it's fine.
And-
Absolutely fine. Don't worry about it.
And it was, I'm being impressionistic. Okay, the one on the left. A crumbling terrace waiting for the wrecking ball. Vestige of a garden. White roses against a white wall, sparked by one rose in pink lavender. Echoed by pinkish, rusty water on the terrace floor and clay pink stone in the building across the street. Smack against the canvas surface, a black vertical line that asks, am I part of the scene or added by the artist? Beauty in decay.
Excellent.
The piece on the right. Graffito of a large chalked thumb from which springs the skeleton of a black tree, which swims in a wash of dark color, which gives way as it rises up the canvas to a brick wall and thin green trees touching a soft blue sky.
Super.
Light. I'm not done. I'm not done.
I'm not saying you're done. I'm just responding.
Oh, okay. Life emerging from a dark void and perhaps the hand of God.
Very striking. So if I was to convey, like as I said with Ron, a particular way of thinking in terms of writing, this manner is stream of consciousness and poetic, very poetic delineation of the character of both landscapes. Very nicely done. Have you did you know this artist before the class?
No, and I'm really glad to find his work through you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's go on to, this is Herman.
Hello, everyone. I have never done this either before. The one on the left, street scene, I will discuss the composition, the coloring, the population, and the emotional reaction of me. Composition, a 6-lane street is depicted from the rear of the middle height of the painting and left of the running towards the viewer, turning slightly to the left midway the length of the street. Business buildings are depicted on both sides of the street, mid-19th century style, 6 stories tall, offices, stores on the ground floor. The street is just shown, I can read my own reading here. Oh, a second street is just shown forking off to the left. The coloring. The color palette is overwhelmingly gray. The series of the right front building is slightly mauve and the tall building in the distance is a pale yellow. Population. The scene is devoid of any vehicles, people, kiosks, etc., and the like. It is barren of any life. My emotional reaction to the paintings. On first reaction, I recognize a similarity to downtown Boston during the height of the COVID isolation. Then it reminded me of the distinctly of the lonesome quality of a Hopper painting. Nevertheless, but perhaps even so, it made me appreciate the liveliness of our typical streets. The second painting, composition, the top half of the painting depicts a large circular 4-story building which shows a V-shaped void from the front to the middle of the building. The building is shown under construction. Only the concrete frame is depicted. The foreground is rather undefined. There is no activity shown of any kind, no construction equipment, no people. The coloring. The entire painting is entirely black, white, and gray. My emotional reaction. I have the impression that the construction of the building has been abandoned. I wonder why. Is it a money problem? A legal dispute? The whole scene leaves me with a rather empty feeling.
I like what you did very much. The one on the right, I think is a drawing. Though you could say it might be a painting, but I'm pretty sure it's a drawing. But the two work very well together, left and right, and the sense of abandonment goes through both of them. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Simon.
Herman, thank you. So let's see, this one is number 9. So this is Roxana. Are you here, Roxana? No? Roxana? Okay, so this one is number 10, which is Jeremy. Jeremy, are you here?
Yes, yeah, I'm here. I suddenly realized I wrote something on another painting, Simon.
Oh.
Not the one on the left, but on a cityscape. And I'd completely, look at that, I completely forgotten I sent you the one of the garden wall. It was one of the cityscapes. Do you want me to, do you want to skip to the next person? I could send you that slide.
No, I don't know how to do that. Which cityscape was it? Is it one of these? Look, watch what I'm doing. Is it one of these?
Yeah, I'm looking. I'm sorry, it's not one of those.
Could you just describe it?
Sure. Hang on a sec. Let me see where I can. Yeah, it's basically, well, let me read what I wrote. And guys, I'm sorry that I had a little that I forgot that. Okay, so here we go.
The left one is correct.
Yeah, the left one is correct.
Okay.
And I don't say much about the cityscape. Here, I'm saying I found this a difficult assignment. I'd wanted to describe these paintings as sensual objects, not because that's the best way to look at art, but because that is the distinctive and unusual thing that we're doing in this lovely class. However, I'm finding it hard to do while talking about why I liked a picture as opposed to what I see in a picture. Both of these images made me think about the observation that in nature there are no edges. The hard edges, the distinctions, the shape making are our minds at work. So what I find terrific about Lopez's cityscape is the way in which it seems to flex and move in front of us, even though it's completely static. I do enjoy the painting sensually, the way the sky moves and the city retreats and advances at the same time. But I know that the source of my sensual pleasure is that I feel a kinship with the perspective. I'm sharing the almost impossible act of feeling a city with another person. That seems to me to be why photorealism is an empty trick, because it only offers kinship with the camera. I have the same reaction to the family portrait. We have no hard edges. We carry the past, present, and future with us simultaneously. I love the way that the little girl was originally holding a hand up to be held, but no one is holding it anymore. I love the way that the portrait of her face has been superimposed twice in a different, bolder medium, as if to mark off the element in the painting that most clearly shows a new world straining to come into being. I love the way that Lopez's attention has been drawn next to the coat of this text. And I wholly recognize the nature of his attention, that his other point of noticing is in particular the eyes of the woman, while the man alongside her is broadly invisible.
Yes, yeah, very good, very good. The the I know I've seen this painting before, and I'm trying to remember if the child is tacked on to this painting or painted as if it was tacked on. I can't quite remember it. The woman, um, her face, it really reminds me of Coptic art, like art of ancient Egypt. Um, and I don't know much about the themes in the painting. In other words, it's a couple and their child, but I don't know more about motivations in doing this. Um, and it's and the painting is finished. In other words, this is the way it's left. It's not unfinished. Okay, so the next one I have is Frank, is this one. Uh, could you could you all mute uh, your devices? I hear something in the background. Could you all look at your device and mute it?
I think you can also mute from where you are, Simon.
Oh,
It went off for a minute.
all right. So let's see if we can just keep going. How would I mute it from where I am?
If you pull up participants, I think as the host you can mute participants.
I don't hear it now.
This is better. This is better. Frank Horton, let's go with you.
Oh, this isn't mine.
Oh, this is mine.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, if we're doing, okay. All right, I chose these two for their seeming simplicity, and it's interesting to me how inanimate objects can relate to one another in a composition. The left is
Wait a minute. Who's talking now?
me, Donna.
Donna. Okay, Donna. Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. I got a little mixed up.
All right. On the left, the title of this was Toilet and Window. It had 1971 as the year attached to it. And then the one on the right is Sink and Mirror, which had the year of 1967 attached. It also had dimensions. It was 38.5 inches by 32.8 inches. I didn't get dimensions on the other one on the left. Both of these images share a minimalist composition with limited palette and space. Both share objects that translate to an intimate central purpose of human application and interaction. These images reflect, to me, Lopez's embrace of realism in creating something extraordinary out of the ordinary. The presentation, of course, is of two ordinary bathroom spaces from a functional and intimate perspective. The first one on the left, there's a feeling of stillness and starkness and silence in this image. The palette is a mix of soft white sepia and rust, depicting actual rust, with pale to gray tones of tiles. To me, that presents as freshness and purity, and also aging and wear and tear. It seems that the brush strokes are simple. That's how they appear to me. And the feeling is also personal and intimate. The window seems to dominate it. It seems to be directly at eye level and is a source of light. It is also a freeing extension of the room's boundaries. In the configuration, the windows look like they've been compressed into the space above the shower basin and the toilet, which are at floor level, and angled downward and away. And I'm looking closely, yet with attention to detail. The eye locates the brush in the corner by the shower basin with its immediate sense of function, energy, and purpose. This detail draws curiosity and the presence of other into this rather, pale space. Now, the right, the sink and mirror, the sink and mirror. The overall feeling of this image is warmer, more purposeful, and intimate. The dominant image is the mirror, which also appears to have been superimposed at a different angle. It is a direct eye level position. The sink angles inward toward the wall and floor. One can see a line variation in the tiles below the white band between the sink and the glass shelf. I'm looking closely at it. The mirror and objects on this shelf below are the focus of attention. The mirror reflects tiles from the opposite wall and inspires curiosity and some sense as to who uses this space. The presence of other in an empty room with that mirror. The mirror also adds a 3D aspect as an extension of boundaries to the room. The toiletries on the glass shelf draw the eye to placement, which is a part of objects that reflect a gender distinction. The shaving brush and razor to the right, the lotion bottles to the left. The direction continues to a depiction of shared intimate space with pink and blue toothbrushes, a tube of toothpaste, and a bar of soap in the sink. It is kind of a sensual transformation. The capture of meticulous and meaningful details in spaces without people extends life and sensuality to the composition. The components work together through discovery in the direction of a whole composition.
Yeah, great. We have time. I'd like to come back to these two. I just had a thought about it, but I don't want to take up the time with my thought.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the next one I see, I believe is Frank's. Am I correct? Is this yours, Frank?
Yep, that's me.
Okay.
Okay. All right. In these two images, I believe Antonio Lopez is asking us, the viewer, to don the role of a detective. The case Lopez is presenting is one of a missing person. On the left, the missing person is or was eating a meal. On the right, the missing person is gazed at by a young girl, possibly, I guess it is Lopez's daughter. To discover the missing person in each image, many mysteries must be solved, and the mysteries themselves exist on three different levels: the level of the subject or content, the level of technique, and the level of meaning. So to start, I think it would be helpful for us to leave, actually, this is going to be, I think it'll be helpful if we kind of leave Lopez for a second and turn to another artist. That artist was one of the most formative influences on Lopez, and that's Picasso. So in 1896, Picasso painted his first studio painting, The Bayonet Charge. He was 15 years old, and it all kind of started with a trip to the Salon Napoleon Cinema in Barcelona, the movie theater. In the dark of the cinema, he was completely knocked out by the moving images of the film, The Cavalry Charge. After the film, he rushes home and begins marrying the images of the Cavalry Charge with a painting, also of a charge, by 19th century Spanish painter Mariano Fortuny. And so what was born by that marriage would not completely come out until 11 years later with the birth of Cubism in 1907. With Cubism, Picasso presented a new vision, one that was forged out of a relationship between art and cinema, art and the camera. It amounted to a withdrawal from terrain previously held by painting, the terrain of capturing reality's likeness. What's more, the camera could do things that were not possible in painting. It could create an experience in the viewer of time actually passing. In his Cubist works, Picasso kneels to the modernizing power of this new technology and replaces the eye of the viewer with the camera. The perspective of the human is replaced with the perspective of the machine. In paintings, time as experienced is ultimately what the camera holds it to be. In these paintings, these Cubist paintings, a series of infinitely divisible moments or images made up of images. No wholeness, just a stack of endlessly dissectable parts. The camera's revelation becomes the revelation of the paintings. And now the role of the artist is redefined. It's not, as in the past, to reveal truths about reality or spiritual truths. Revelation is now the prerogative of the inhuman, the machine. The artist now becomes a vehicle for the camera's revelations. As Picasso himself once said, it was our individual characters that had to express themselves because there were no more discoveries to be made. For Picasso, the levels of subject, technique, and meaning all get reduced into personality or ego as style. And okay, now we're going to go back to Lopez. In an interview, Lopez once said, quote, "At a certain age, you begin to understand reality and you start to move away from all that contamination of influences." So for Lopez to see reality, an artist must get rid of the contaminating effect of influences, basically. What were some of these contaminating influences with respect to Picasso? Well, one was Picasso himself, Picasso's personality, and the idea that art is just about personality. And I think this was something that was blocking Lopez from seeing, and this was blocking Lopez from seeing reality. Picasso's personality was blocking Lopez from seeing a deeper reality. Another Picasso contaminant was the idolization of the machine, the camera. The false belief that its being itself is the final revelation. And then just to conclude, so in the two pictures above, I believe you can see Lopez reclaiming a former role for art and the artist. The artists are acting as mediums to reveal philosophical, spiritual truths about reality. timeless truths about time. Lopez created in the present, when he was working on these works, he was creating something in the present, something about that had occurred in the past, but that wasn't the past, that hadn't passed. But also the works could never reach wholeness or completion by Lopez alone. The wholeness of the work will only occur when he was working on it. The wholeness of the work would only occur in the future. The viewer is the completing part, the missing person, and the missing person we've been looking for in our little investigation. When you look at these pictures, time is transcended. The act of vision is the act of communion, and you and the artist become one.
Yeah, really well said, beautifully written. Your piece reminded me of something I want to say about these two. And I'm just going to just tell you this part. It was very quickly, but I want to get on to the rest of you. In Donna's addressing these two, it made me think of a conversation that I had today with Jeremy, and there's some humor in this, in that I talked about Kabbalah in terms of Lopez, and I tried to explain or riff on an idea I have that in Kabbalah, every object, whether it's a child or a grandmother or an apple or a stone or a pebble, has a spirit inside it. And that spirit is characteristic of those objects. And that spirit is either waiting for us or not waiting for us, but is present in everything that we see. So as the artist, we are trying to pull those spirits out. And I guess the humor here is, if I'm correct, the humor here is that spirit is in the toilet bowl, okay? And that spirit is in the brush on the side of the toilet bowl, and it's in the glass of the window, and it's in the pull that pulls the window up, and the drain. And of course, if you take this literally, to pull that spirit out would be a questionable activity when it came to the toilet bowl. So, with no further ado, we're going on to Rita.
Okay. I chose the painting, The Train Station, and I'm addressing it in two parts. Perspective is important to Antonio Garcia Lopez, who painstakingly hangs his plumb line and obsesses to accurately reveal the perspective in this street scene. At the same time, he seems to divide the canvas in two with a horizontal line so that the perspective comes undone, and we are left wondering if we are looking at two paintings instead of one. I am a sucker for the human element in a landscape. Show me any painting, and no matter how tiny the human image is on that canvas, that is where my eye goes first. Horizon above, buildings below, and at the bottom half, a powerful and surprising embrace. My eye sweeps from the bottom up and stops, ignoring the rest for a moment. The lovers, muscular, fleshy, immediate, are joined. Not another soul on that empty two-tone gray expanse of moonscape. Have they been magically transported to a sandy shore and silent ocean with cloudy sky above? The gentle, filtered, dusky light enhances their bodies' glow. The scene is a sea of abandon and rapture. a rejection of objectivity and precision. The body seems sculptural and kinetic in the twilight, rising beyond the surface of the canvas. And then my eye moves upwards to take in the entire vista. Lopez's perspective is mischief. He has upended our way of interpreting the world. The lovers are perhaps on the train station's rooftop that overlooks the town, not on the cement below. What was at the bottom is now the top. Tones are somber, windows are empty, anonymous buildings are crowded together, but in the center of it all, there is a path that links the life-affirming couple to a pale but comforting rosy-hued sky. It is one unified painting after all. At any rate, that's my perspective.
Rita, I think you're outdoing yourself. That was really striking. Very, very creative, and very thought-provoking, and very sexy, actually, too. Okay, so Rita, I think this is this yours, Carol? Carol? She might have just stepped out.
But no, I'm here. I'm here. I just
Okay, great, great.
Okay. Yes, that is mine. The painting on the left is Lopez's La Grande Via. It's oil on panel and measures 37 by 35, roughly square. It was
Let me just interrupt. I wanted to say something about this painting because I stayed at a hotel just to the left of this scene. It's quite close to the Prado. And this is a bustling place. Really torrents of cars and people and all kinds of things. And in one of the photographs I showed him painting here.
there, yes.
You can imagine that he painted every part of this.
Well, I actually found out something about that.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No, that's okay.
I couldn't help it. You go.
It was painted from 1974 to 1981, which I'll talk about a little. The drawing on the right is Tomelloso, a street on the outskirts. It is pencil on paper, 20 by 23 inches, and was drawn in 1986. Something's bothering me about that, but I don't know. What is striking about these two very different works of art is how similar they are and how representative they are of Lopez's work. While both are landscapes, the drawing is evocative of his many very minimalist drawings and painting. Lots of white and not many lines that yet create a world. It could almost be a sketch in preparation for La Grande Via. You know, I'm not sure that this is the right painting on the right, the right drawing on the right, Simon. I'll go on. It's close, but I think it's not quite the same one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just went with what you sent me.
Yeah, I know. It may have been that second sending the JPEG.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay. It could almost be a sketch in preparation for La Grande Via. Yeah. And La Grande Via is his quintessential city landscape. It is exacting and painted in his traditional grays and muted yellows. While we have evidence that he painted at least some of it from life, given the picture of him out in the middle of the traffic island, the truth apparently is that the reason it took 7 years was because he only painted it on Sunday mornings when there was no traffic. All of it is painted from life.
Sunday mornings.
Sunday mornings. That's it. Early Sunday mornings.
So he knew Edward Hopper's work then.
There you go. And there's not a question but that Tomelloso, the drawing, is also drawn from life. He would have had no problem standing out in the street with his pencil and sketch pad from the looks of this village. The similarity in these two is not just that they are street scenes starting from a wide open space and going to a far, narrow end of the street, but also that whatever is depicted is done with exactitude despite the vastly different settings. Tomiyoso, the drawing, tells that this is a slow rural town with simple buildings down this street. Maybe it too was drawn on Sunday morning when there was no one around. It's definitely drawn in the morning. This is me again. It's a little bit of a problem with this not being quite the right drawing, but I'll go on. It's definitely drawn in the morning as the light is coming from the same place as in Gran Via, shading the structures on the right. And the edge of the shade and Gran Via's white line in the street both lead to the bright sunlight at the end. In La Gran Via, the sun lights another large building, showing that what is beyond is as urban as the street we see. And the arrow pointing away says that there's more where this has come from. Not so in Tomiyoso, where the sunlight leads to a blinding nothing. Tomiyoso seems very empty, and when you are there, you're going nowhere. We know that the buildings in both are drawn exactly as they exist, and yet, unlike La Gran Via, the drawing is far from photographic. There is a great sense of air, space, and warmth. La Gran Via is cool, yet there is a feeling that people in cars and buses will appear at any second. Not so in Tomiyoso. Each of these empty streets tells of what its world is like.
Well done, very well done. So he only painted on Sunday mornings.
Sunday mornings for 7 years.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
He mentioned that he was an artist who believed in waiting. So
Yes.
that's really, really striking.
Really.
Okay, so I see this is Alan's here. Alan, you go.
Yeah, okay. So on the left is a painting called Mujer en la Bañera, which means woman in the bathtub. And that is oil on board, 1968, 42 inches by 65 inches. And the one on the right is Mujer en la Playa, which is woman on the beach. And that is charcoal and graphite pencil on paper glued to a board, 1959, 41 inches by 72 inches. Now, so Woman on the Bathtub is a stunning tour de force of simplicity. The composition of the painting is very striking. The view Lopez has taken, looking down diagonally on the woman in the bathtub, creates just enough space to pull you in. The composition is very well balanced and the perspective is perfect. It is symmetry by asymmetry. As the center of the painting, vertically from top down, there are three significant elements: the faucet, the spout, and the woman's right hand. The woman's exposed and illuminated knees protrude from the water, are in exact center of the painting, both vertically and horizontally, and our eyes are drawn to them. The triangular shapes of the mat and floor reinforce the diagonal lines of the bathtub. The small sections of the bathroom's wall and floor on the extreme left give depth to the spatiality and balance of the work. Imagine the painting without that area, the composition of the painting would be deprived of its success. The scene is very quiet and serene. The woman is calmly relaxing with her eyes closed. Her left hand is resting on the tub's edge. The subtle texturing of surface reflections on the tiled tub surround and wall add to the painting's quote unquote life. The green color of the juxtaposed, the green color of the tile juxtaposed to the woman's warm tones are my right here, transitioned by the color of the water. The painting's atmosphere, timelessness, simplicity, and color are somewhat reminiscent of Edward Hopper's Woman in the Sun. And then now Woman on the Beach, now remember this is a drawing, and which is close to the size of Woman in the Bathtub. And it's time here. Monochromatic, a monochromatic and more abstract piece. At first look, we are not exactly sure of what is being presented here, particularly in the background. As we look upward toward the top of the picture, we are looking further and further into the distance, into a foggy mist, and it becomes more difficult to identify what is going on there. However, as we continue to look at the drawing, we see a composition that is also well balanced and which achieves great depth by establishing several horizontal areas with subtle transitions between them. First, one is attracted to the beautiful form of the woman who is very well rendered. One then recognizes the beach shoreline along a bay with a sailboat in the distance. Beyond the bay is a rocky peninsula, and beyond that is an inlet on the left leading to the ocean and the horizon. Beyond the horizon is a cloudy sky with a foggy mist below. There are buildings in the distance on the upper right that may be on higher ground, although they look as if they are floating in the sky. Our eyes follow the horizontal areas from bottom to top from near to far. The further that one looks into the distance, the more abstract are the forms. The color of the paper is warm. One can almost feel sunlight breaking through the mist and the smell of the ocean. The woman is unclothed and possibly sleeping. The part of her clothing that is covering her blends with the surrounding sand. This drawing, although very different, like Woman in the Bathtub, has a quiet and serene atmosphere, except maybe for the soft pounding of the waves.
Yeah, beautifully written, and it's a very striking choice. Earlier on, I was mentioning the issue with Donna and with the glass, the the glass that a drawing of a glass, which you can see on the internet, which is attributed to Lopez. But the reason that it's not by Lopez is this drawing is like very much Lopez's work, and you can see in this drawing how much is left out, how much is out of focus, dramatically out of focus. The whole upper area of the woman and the procession of space all the way back is really quite out of focus. And it's a stunning drawing, and I've seen this drawing a few times, and it's really, really stunning. So the next one that I have is Frank McGarry. Are you here, Frank?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Okay. That's actually not mine, Simon. Mine is
Oh, I'm
the
sorry.
next one.
The next one. This one.
Yes, that's
Okay.
right.
Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. These two works both have been described by Carol and Alan already, but I'll just quickly go over it. The one on the left is Woman in the Bath from 1968. It's oil paint on board, and it's 42 inches by 65.5 inches. And the second one on the right is Gran Via, painted from 1974 to 1981. And as we just found out, only on Sunday mornings. That's
We're
also
right up to date, Frank.
yes, also oil on board, and it's basically a 3 by 3 foot, 3 foot by 3 foot painting. I chose these two pictures because in the short time since being introduced to Lopez's work, they represented to me the remarkable range of his accomplishments. Both pictures are vivid depictions of Lopez's life, one an interior space of his home, the other an outdoor landscape of his city. Woman in the Bath has a stillness and intimacy that brings to mind the paintings of interiors by Pierre Bonnard, another artist who often painted his wife in the living spaces of their home. The stillness of Lopez's depiction can be seen in the level line of the water, indicating that the water isn't moving. The woman appears to be deep in thought, or maybe napping. Her right hand is gently sitting on top of the water, her eyes cast downward or perhaps closed, and her earring hanging motionless from her left ear. Perhaps this single earring is a nod to Vermeer. Hints of brown, white, and possibly orange in the green tile can also be seen in the water covering the woman's body, the skin of her leg that emerges from the water, as well as the side of the tub, giving a cohesiveness to the picture visually and a sense of quiet. True to his reputation as a realist, Lopez faithfully includes a chain and rubber stopper in the drain near the woman's feet, and the reflection of the floor and floor mat in the tiles on the outside of the tub. The brightest light appears on the wall behind the woman's head. That and the shadow at her feet would indicate that there's a window on the wall behind the viewer letting in the daylight. There's no water dripping from the faucet, and one can imagine a silence in the room. Inevitably, that quiet will be disturbed when the woman finally makes a move to get out, and the sound of the water in motion will reverberate off the tile walls. Gran Via took 7 years to complete. It has no people or vehicles in it, yet the whole picture appears to be in motion. The curve of the road and the resulting positioning of buildings moving toward a vanishing point is realistic enough to give my mind permission to fill the sidewalks with pedestrians, and imagine empty streets with fast-moving cars moving toward and away from the viewer. Despite the likelihood that this street is probably or rarely devoid of people and vehicles, Lopez gives us a chance to stand in the middle of a busy roadway and see what he sees: the lines of the structures and details of the buildings. Amazingly, if one looks closely at the details, they become blurry with the paint. A viewer can make more of them by stepping back in the way a person might look at an impressionist work. With the woman in the bath, it's easy to see the love the artist has for his wife, presenting her in such a private and generous moment. It's also easy to see how much love Lopez has for his city, given the time and attention he lavished on Gran Via.
Oh, excellent. Really, really well done. Especially liked your point about his wife. So the next one, I'm not sure who did who suggested this one. Did someone send me these two?
Oh yeah, that was me, Dean here.
Okay, so who is it? Who is it?
Dean.
Okay,
Oops,
go ahead.
can you? Oh, hi. Yeah.
Oh, Dean. Dean. Yes.
Yeah.
Dean.
Hi, Simon.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay. You look like you're coming to us from a mine.
I am 2 stories up on a ladder cleaning gutters right now.
Oh my God, my God. If you fall, I'm gonna kill myself.
Well, I'll be brief. It's kind of weird to pick pictures that are not really of the paintings. They're more a process.
Yes. Yes.
And what struck me from the quince tree son was one of his comments that I think he was questioned maybe by a visitor and asking him why he didn't just work from a photograph of the tree. And he said it was much more important for him to spend the time with the tree than to maybe do something that was more, from a photograph.
You're
And so,
you're speaking with exceptional clarity in the middle of the night.
it's very common for us
Yes.
in the short daylight to be out. Yeah. So, yeah, and I just personally relate. I kind of quit the architecture field once my dad passed to go into, work that's up high, out in the trees, with leaves. And I would love to be doing what he's doing, out in the buffeting winds there, trying to capture, the beauty of the prospect at, at he's capturing an oasis there on the right-hand picture. And then the cityscape, from the refuge of a room, a cool room. He's has the window open and spending time trying to capture, in a flat panel what your eyes take in much more gloriously, I guess, in real life. In real 3D, it's hard to imagine how you'd capture, kind of an infinite horizon and planes of space and color just in color alone. So you see him working with this palette knife, and trying to, who knows, maybe he's adjusting the hues to make them more vivid with color and hue than necessary to try to capture the space as well as just the color alone. And the other thing is I love the I'm trying to think of too the dynamic one gallery right up they chose Lopez, his wife, and about 3 others all to having the same gallery as they were kind of a cohort, producing realism kind of all in the same time. And it's interesting to see them all supporting each other. And it's often Lopez and his wife would stand side by side doing vistas, the same vista together. And it would be fun to see some of those pictures side by side as well, to see, how their personalities would kind of shine through.
Dean, I must say that looking at you on the screen, I have the maybe the slight intuition that there's some kind of lunacy going on here. Now, when I look from you to the picture on the right of Lopez painting out there, I also think that this man is a lunatic. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I mean, I remember when you saying you couldn't see yourself on La Grande Via. I don't know. I think different people may have a different take on that they'd love to be in the mix. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Each individual would have their own inspiration, I guess, from.
All right, listen, don't fall, okay? Don't.
No problem.
This is a spectacular appearance by Dean on a rooftop. So the last one. Now, if please look at the image on the right here of Lopez painting and his wife. So, Kim, are you still here? Kim?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good. So I wrote this down. So the image of Lopez painting here on the right is Kim's image on the right. And the image that you saw before of Lopez's wife floating over a china closet or a commode is on the left-hand side. So you have to sort of picture those two. It's not possible for me to add this. You have to go through 70 steps to add something. And I can't do it. Renee can just about do it. So I'm asking you to picture this. But I thought what Kim wrote is a very fitting conclusion to the class. And I asked her to come and read it. So here's Kim.
Yeah, and I apologize. As Simon knows, I picked my images quickly this morning and then sent them to him and then quickly wrote this. So I don't even know the name of the two paintings because I didn't.
That doesn't matter.
Okay,
That
good.
doesn't matter.
Okay. I chose these two images randomly or not, scrolling until I felt like stopping. One is an exterior image of two people, an artist who is painting a landscape and a woman standing behind him, Lopez and wife. The other image is an interior still life of a cabinet with the bust of a woman in the upper left quadrant. Each painting seems to feature the artist's wife. Each puts her in a realm of unspecified and nuanced existence. In the exterior landscape, she is holding something in her hand, or her hands are pressed together. They are standing together on a gravel outcrop high above the city the artist is painting. It is a painting within a painting. The artist leans into his work, paintbrush poised. His feet are firmly planted. The woman is focused on the artist as if she is ready to hand him something, or unable to occupy her own hands with similar work. She is holding her hands together while conveying psychic support. She appears to float just off the ground a bit, as if levitating. This is achieved by the placement of the shadow beneath her feet. Her red dress is flowing, a saturated color in an otherwise earthy color palette. She appears evanescent. Is she there, or is she merely a presence in the artist's mind? In the second painting, the woman is the main subject. Here she is floating at the top of an étagère filled with beautiful household objects. Stacked plates, dried leaves and flowers, a porcelain urn, silver candlesticks, hand-embroidered lace cloths. All real, except the portrait of the woman who levitates above the top shelf. She occupies the imagination of the artist and the viewer. Her eyes meet our eyes with a gaze which holds us like a sadder Mona Lisa, or wiser. As she draws you to her eyes, you can't help but notice the detailing of her blouse. Like a palimpsest, we can read through it. It is layered and decorated, disintegrating into the crystal bowl next to her. These two paintings reveal something psychological about the artist and his relationship with his wife. The subtlety and grandeur of their mutual love, admiration, preoccupation with, dominance over, and attachment to each other. It's all of it.
It's really beautiful, beautiful piece of writing. And
Yeah.
I would say that it's not an accident that you chose these two, even though you say it was done very quickly. They're thematically connected.
Mhm.
And it either you're being modest about it, but they really are connected deeply.
Well, no, I'm not being modest. I'm just saying that I liked the one, and then whichever one I chose second, I realized, the subject was relating, and that it was telling me something. So it was quick, you see it. I didn't allow myself to think. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
sometimes you think secretly.
Yeah. We
Okay?
all,
Yeah,
yeah.
secret thoughts. And
Mhm.
my secret thought was that this, in a beschert sort of way, was a nice ending for the class. But it was an ending which came from your sending me this so late.
Mhm.
So, but it was a beautiful ending. And these classes on Lopez were, I think, very beautiful and satisfying to me. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think I'm going to do next week Frida Kahlo. So that's what I'll do. And then there are two other classes. One is on Egon Schiele, and one is on Paula Modersohn Becker. So that's the next three. And then you'll write about the previous three classes, and that would be for the last class. So
Simon, there's a slide 18 in your list of slides. Is that someone waiting to present?
I don't know. Did everyone go? Oh, one person couldn't come tonight. Thanks, Len. One person couldn't come. Yeah, maybe more than one. One or two people couldn't come, and I just passed over them. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next three classes and then one class to write would be the last class. And that writing would be on the three previous classes. The same idea, picking out two images, but in this case, it would be two images of either the same artist or one of one artist and one of another. Wonderful group and class, and just a total delight. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care of yourself.
Good
Thanks,
night.
Simon. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Okay. Terrific. Hey, Dean.
I'm still alive. I'm still
Dean,
alive. Thanks.
Okay. Good.
Thanks. Great class.
Keep cool, Dean.
Thank you. Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Nothing has to happen to you. Okay. All right.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thanks. That was great.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye. Alan, isn't that funny?
Yeah, it's funny.
So funny. Absolutely funny.
I don't know. I wouldn't do that.
I liked your piece, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, really good. Very thought-provoking artist.
Yeah, no, he is. And I didn't know much about him, and I really love him. I
Yeah,
do.
that's great. That's great. It's hard to see a lot of his work, but I know the Museum of Modern Art has a few, and
Yeah.
that's the reason I traveled to see it.
Mm.
It's very hard to bring them together, too. It's very extremely expensive to move these things and to organize it.
Yeah, no, I bet.
Yeah. Send my best regards.
I will. Okay.
All right. Take care.
Take care. I'll see you next week.
Okay. Bye-bye.